Hey everyone, me Kevin here. I have a big update on all three of our new children, which we are so blessed that they were born on February 2nd, but the reason they were born on February 2nd was way preterm due to baby B having ascites, which is a massive fluid buildup in her tummy. I'll briefly give you a glimpse here, so be prepared. This is not for the faint of heart. This is a 3 to 4 pound child that looks like she's pregnant because of fluid buildup. And the problem with ascites is you don't know what's causing it. There's a chance it can go away on its own, and you might never find out. There's a chance it could be something really, really bad. And there's a chance it could be something in between, which the uncertainty of that is very, very scary. And so yesterday at midnight, I received a phone call from the medical center. It woke me up. I went to sleep around 10, so I got about 2 hours of sleep, and which is fine. I purposely left all my phone on, my watch on, so that I would wake up in case something came up. And I'm so glad I answered because the doctor said, Kevin, we need your permission to conduct emergency surgery on Summer. We have extracted bile from her stomach that's not supposed to be there. And this is a sign that this problem that we were hoping might stabilize and go away is not going away. In fact, we drained fluid, and that fluid has now recurred. So I authorized emergency surgery. Of course. It turns out that about 10 to 15% of her small intestine, the distal ileum, died due to some form of a blockage, which could be because of an infection, which probably wouldn't be viral because they're two twins. Could be because of genetics, which is odd because you have an identical twin. That's totally fine. It could be because of that's just the way things are sometimes. It's just the hand you're dealt. And some kind of blockage occurred in her intestine. The body basically sealed off that blockage. And then as you are receive nutrition, and that nutrition goes from your stomach through your small intestine, where your small intestine extracts nutrients, it's supposed to move to the colon, where you can then extract the fiber and the bile, which helps break down, fats, lipids, whatever. But there's a blockage. So imagine like a clogged pipe. It's exactly like a clogged pipe in your sink where, you hit a blockage. And so what happens is you keep packing on blockage until all of a sudden it rips or the pipe bursts. And that's what happened. Summer's pipe burst and it spilled bile all around the inside of her internals. And that's what was expanding the inside of her chest cavity. Really bad. It's shocking, absolutely shocking that her vitals were as stable as they were on just morphine, because, you saw how large she was. I'll show you an x-ray as well. It's crazy what she looks like. This is, zoom in a little bit so there's not too much info there. There we go. This is the x-ray. And what you can see are these sort of spots of air, which you generally don't want to see. Spots of air are black. And they're pushing up against her. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Infant abdomen view. They're pushing up against her lungs. Her lungs should be expanded significantly below those rib levels there. Her lungs are the little black things on the left and right. Air shows up as black on an x-ray. And this is air in the chest cavity, which really shouldn't be there. Now, that could happen from draining fluid and then potentially air coming in, or, which they ended up being, their abdominal gases. So the section of her intestine was cut out. Now she basically has two open ends of intestines inside of her right now, which is crazy because yesterday, as I was with her virtually all day long, I had to go to a separate hospital to visit the other two babies. We know that she's sitting there with basically a 4-inch hole in her tummy that's gauze packed and then iodine covered right now because she's not done. She had surgery 1. 15 centimeters of her intestine was removed. Now you have 2 open ends. At some point, that's got to get put back together. But first, they have to go in for another surgery to see is any more of that intestine failing. Now, losing about 8 to 10% of your intestine is survivable without, frankly, dietary restrictions. Once you start getting to the 30, 40, 50% range, that's where you're going to start having dietary issues. Now, keep in mind, as you grow, you're going to grow 10 to 15-ish% less of your intestine, right? Because that's been removed at a 3-pound weight. So it is a big deal. And we have no idea what's going to happen in this second surgery now to see, is there any more necrosis or is it stopped? I asked the doctor if they removed any margin. That's sort of like when you're like, okay, here's the bad portion, which we'll send off to pathology to see, like, can we figure out what caused this? But when you remove margin, you basically say, okay, here, we're going to cut this section out, and now we're going to take off a little extra, which we took off maybe another 4 to 5 millimeters. So now these two things are loose. You're basically just pumping fluids out of the stomach manually. These are all the tubes that are in poor baby Summer right now. This is a close-up of her. While I was with her last night before I came back here, I'm picking up Lauren so we can go back there. The babies are about a 6-hour drive away from where we are right now. But she was looking at me, at least to the extent that I could tell. I know that babies, they could see maybe about 6 to 12 inches away, so I got really close and just talked to her for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. This was a close-up picture I got, and you could kind of see her pupil sort of looking right at you. And it was really, really a beautiful moment. But I'm only showing her face because she literally has a hole in her tummy. Again, it's covered in gauze, but you could clearly see the hole since the iodine pack is a little transparent. And so we're definitely not out of the woods here. We've got a big second surgery coming up. And this comes after, basically 2 days after baby Jay had what's called pneumothorax, which is basically a collapsed lung. I'll show you a video of Jay, and then you can actually see where his plug is. So this is Jay right here. And Jay, right under his arm there, you can see his IV on his arm. Right under his arm, see that sort of yellowish packaging there? That's his sort of chest plug to let air come out, but not bacteria in. That's because if there's still a hole in his lung, that air pressure could create issues basically for your heart and for your other vital organs when you have air pressure in your in your chest. You don't want air in there. Now, the good news is after Summer's surgery, she is significantly more normal. Look at her x-ray here. On the right side, you actually have a profile before of her. The picture on the right, you see that black portion above all her organs, which have tissue has that color. The black is air. That's air pushing down on all of her organs. So think about it like you're doing chest compressions, pushing down, except it's air doing that. That's really painful. Poor Summer has been up from morphine to fentanyl. So she's on a fentanyl drip, and she's yesterday we had some more as-needed morphine. She was clearly exhibiting stress while I was there. Which makes sense. I mean, it's right after a surgery. She's been good over the night, so she's stable. No PRN, which the nurse's joke is per RN, but it's really Latin for as needed. But anyway, on the left, you could see a much more normal chest cavity. The little ropey there, that's the gauze. This is sort of a tie on the gauze. But see the air on the right, that's we believe, it's the large intestine. But we believe those are just the sort of normal GI gases that you would normally expect to see in a child. So this is much more normal, and her lungs are expanding more than they had been before. Of course, we've got a breathing tube in here. We've got stomach suction in here. She's not on a feeding tube because she's got a PICC line, so she's getting her nutrition directly into her veins. Both Jay and Violet are on feeding tubes, but that's because they're so small. Here's a picture of me with Violet. She actually has this little feeding tube right here. She's actually the strongest. She's also the smallest in weight, 3 pounds, 7 ounces right now. And so when we say I was feeding her, what you do is you hold them and you try to give them the pacifier, try to keep them close and swaddled, give them a pacifier so they get the sensation of eating, but they're really just being drip fed with a tube that basically goes right into their tummy. That's pretty normal for babies of this size. And so far, Jay looks like he's recovering from his collapsed lung. He's stable. Violet has been kicking butt. She's getting a little bit of treatment for jaundice, which is like nothing, super normal. But it's kind of cool because it's like her name's Violet and this looks kind of Violet. But she's great. She's super feisty, very, very alert. She's really healthy for her size at 30. They were born 32 weeks, 6 days. So Violet's kicking butt. Jay's recovering, which is fantastic from his lung issue. And then Summer, we're just like so hopeful and putting out whatever positive energy we can by the bedside, talking to doctors, whatever we can just to try to be good, the best parents we can be. That's why I'm back to pick up Lauren today, catch up with some work, and then we're going to go be there again for surgery part 2. Surgery part 2 won't actually fully put her back together. It'll just take the ends of the intestines, kind of stick them up to your stomach, and then you have little bags, and she'll stay like that for like 6 to 8 weeks. It's called a stoma. And then she'll be fully put back together after a third surgery in about 6 to 8 weeks. So she's still got a road ahead of her, and we really need her to stay strong for these surgeries. But, you know, I have to say, when I had twins, and they were my first 2 babies in the NICU, we're like, oh no, CPAP, you know, it creates a seal, and then it's the breather. Big deal. Big deal. And that's nothing. Like, if you ever have a baby in the NICU and they're in the box and they got the little monitors and CPAP, it's like, that's compared to this, fantastic. That's great. And it's not to minimize the intensity of being in the NICU. I'm just comparing to myself, like, I wish all they needed was that right now. So it really shows you that there's so much that like, there's nothing you can do. You could have more money. You could do whatever. None of that makes a difference. Like, the cards you get dealt are what you get dealt, and then you got to do your best with it. And now, you know, Summer's gonna have a massive scar above her belly button for the rest of her life. Jay will have a whole scar on the side of his chest from a collapsed lung. But the goal is to make sure they survive and can lead normal lives. But this has been it's been very, very intense. And just the range of emotions that go with it are crazy. But again, I just, you know, it's so weird. I just remember the feeling of having our children on CPAP in October, and oh no, this is terrible. And then like, I really see terrible. And obviously things could be even worse from here. Knock on wood that doesn't happen, but it really makes you pause for a moment and go, holy yeah. Anyway. Tell your loved ones you love them.